Welcome to Crafting with Kathy. In today's clip, we're going to be working with alcohol inks, and I'm going to be demonstrating a wispy style and on a ceramic tile. And we'll probably do a couple of samples, so let's have some fun. All right, I'm going to start off with, firstly, I've got my tile sitting on a Lazy Susan so that I can move it around and easily work my air from side to side to create the wispy look. I'm going to do this one all in monotone, so just greys and blacks with some silver metallic added to it. I've got my alcohol standing by. This is the isopropyl alcohol in a fine tipped bottle. So we're going to start by just putting on some of our grey, and I'm going to be working with the air blower to move the colours around. So let's just put some grey down, and now I'm going to work the alcohol around it, push it into the alcohol, and then push it back onto itself. So push it into the alcohol and then turn around and push it back. And this is how we get this wonderful wispy look. Pushing it back onto itself. Making sure we put alcohol wherever we want to work the colours. Now I know that I'm going to come down the centre with the black and the silver. So I'm happy for the grey to spread out and cover a little bit more of the tile. So I'm actually trying to get it to spread a little bit out of our centre. I'm going to work the other colours on the diagonal line. So yeah, I'm happy for this one to spread, but I still want it wispy. So I spread it out and then push it back again. There's a little bit here that needs to be moved a bit more. Spread it out, push it back in. And you can see why I have the Lazy Susan. You can just physically go from side to side, but I find it a little bit easier to be able to turn my piece to the angle that I want. So I'm moving it out. And push that back in again. Okay. So anywhere where I've seen I've got a line, I'm going to just work that area a little bit more. Now I'm not squeezing a lot of the alcohol on. It says me doing a bigger bit, but I'm actually not using a lot in each go. Push it into it. I'm just moving it in different directions. Push it back onto itself again. If I've got a heavy line, pop some alcohol there and push it away. And of course, I'm not really concentrating here on making a particular pattern because it's going to change as we add the other colours in. This colour that we're putting down now will of course move again. So what I'm looking at is what it's creating along these outer edges, because that's the bit that's probably going to stay more. Anything here more in the centre is going to get covered with the other colours. So if I've got a bit of a swirl that I particularly like, then I'm going to make sure that I don't go back over the top of that. If I've got a little bit that's a little bit too solid and I want it a bit wispier, I'll pop a bit more alcohol in and just shift it a little bit. I'm hoping you can see that without my hand getting too much in the way. How are we going, Matthew?
Pretty good.
Okay, let's put a blob in the middle. Let it sit for a moment. If the ink has dried at all, just let your alcohol sit there for a moment before you start moving it. Okay, we've got lines developing there, so I'm going to move those out a little bit more. And this is way too heavy, so let's put quite a blob there. Let it sit for a moment. I'm going to blow back into it. I can blow it out into that alcohol. Keep moving it around. But this is starting to get a really good background pattern happening now. Okay, I love some of this motley looking that's developing. Rightio. Now somehow I've had a little bit of pink on somewhere, probably the end of the alcohol bottle, and it's just left a bit of pink there, so we're just moving that around a bit. I could come in with the alcohol on a little bit of a cotton bud or a paper towel and lift that off, or I can just spread it out a bit more and keep going. Rightio, let's add in some more colours. So we're going to come in with our silver and our black. So we're just going to add a couple of bits of black down the middle there. And I'll give the silver a little bit of, I did give it a good shake a moment ago. I'm just rolling that ball around there a few more times And we're going to blob that on top of the black. Okay, let's get our alcohol in there and float that around. So again, I'm going to work from both sides. Keep that moving. Now I have put quite a bit of silver on there. It might be a little bit too much. I'll try and float some of it up to the top a bit, just by moving it around. You'll notice the silver and the copper's the same. These metallics tend to spread more, whereas the brass and the gold tend to float to the surface a little bit more. So you get more, here, these ones you get more of a general metallic, whereas with the brass and the gold you tend to get lines of it sitting on top. Both create great effects though. Now let's get a little bit more black in there. Come on, drip on. Thank you. And you'll see how it makes everything else move when you add another colour to it. So that was putting the alcohol not on top of the black, putting it next to it, so I can move the black into that spot. Now I'm tending to, with this puffer, I'm tending to do little blows. I'm working on the tile is a fairly small area to work on, so I don't want to do great big blows. But I can, if I want some more sweeping movements, I can move the tool as I blow it, and that will get more sweeping actions happening. I quite like some of those ripples. I'm going to leave that there. Just want to take that line out of that bit a bit. It's just a matter of playing until you're happy with the effect you've created. I've got a couple of lines here I'm not so, not so much lines, but solid edges that I'm not so happy with. So I'll just puff it into the alcohol, puff it back onto itself. Give it a few bigger blows. I think I do need to break up that black a bit, so I'm going to come in with some alcohol right in the middle of it, and you'll see it move. I'll let it just sit there. I can assess what it's doing on its own, and with it how much I need to manipulate it. And just bring it along a little bit. Nice. Okay, so you can see we're starting to get some ripples happening in there. Cool. Okay, now we're probably getting out on time. I can't spend too much time on one tile, even though it's when you're doing it yourself, you just want to keep playing, keep adding. But I want to show you some other effects. So we're going to finish up with that one there. I want to show you the gold so you can see the difference in how it moves. So I'm loving the difference between the depth of the black and that softness of the grey that we got there first. But let's pop another tile up and just change our colours. And this time we're going to bring, as well as the gold, I'm going to bring the Blanco into it, the white. Which means if we're working with Blanco, we need to work more with the Claro rather than the alcohol. So we're going to pop some colours on. I've got Sapphire blue, which is a deeper blue. We've got Baja blue. So I might work with these two first, and then we'll bring in some pink and some gold. So I've got some Senorita Magenta, and I've got the gold. Give that a good shake, ready? Doesn't matter if those colours sit on the tile for a few minutes because they'll activate once we put the Claro or the alcohol on. That will activate those. So let's drop some drops of Claro in there as well. Okay. Now I might actually use the airbrush for this one, just to show a different tool. And I'm looking here for getting a fair bit of coverage on the tile, so And then we're going to add our other Whispies down the centre. And then we'll bring our Blanco in from the sides and mix it in with these colours. Okay, let's bring our Magenta down the centre. Put some gold in with those. Now see immediately how that gold floats to the surface? And that's the gold and the brass that give this effect. I want just a little bit of air movement with this now. Let's have some more claro, a little bit more air. Test it on yourself, there we go. So you can see the colours are reacting together. Let's get a bit of movement up this end. Again, I've gone away from the piece, so I'm just going to get my airflow right on my arm before I come into the piece. Break up that gold a little bit. I think I'm going to bring some gold right up to the end there, which means I could add some more, or I could keep moving that bit. But I think we'll add a little bit of a drop there. Bit of claro. And again, test my airflow. Now, we've got a bit of clobbing there that I don't like so much, so I'm going to pop a bit of claro in there. And the hard thing with the airbrush is you get a bit excited as you're going and you can push the button harder and actually get too much airflow. Let that do its job for a moment, get my airflow right. I want to form, that's better, I'm getting more of an edge now to that gold. All right, again, I could keep playing and playing because it's just fabulous fun, but I'm wanting to get the white happening, the Blanco. So let's just pop some of that on the edge there. And we'll pop a little bit of the teal down as well. And we might get a bit of pink over this side. Okay, now I'm going to switch back to the blower because I want a little bit more control over this. I just do little puffs. So I'm going to puff into the Blanco. Add some claro in there. And try and take it right to the edge of the tile, and then we're going to start wafting it in. Anywhere it gets too strong, just add a little bit more of the claro in, so you keep getting movement. See how we get this beautiful marbling, rippling happening with the Blanco? Just trying to soften some of those edges a little bit. So pull the colour out, push it into the colour. I'm pulling and pushing from both sides just until we get movement happening. Now we've got a little bit too much just pink there, so let's give it a couple of good blows and blow some other colour back into it. That's better. Now we're breaking it up. Let's come in with some more of our Blanco. This is a very cool colour to use. teal. And bring it down to the edge. So even though I'm going for a wispy look, I'm actually still looking at covering the whole tile. But we're still using that same technique that we use just to get a small amount of wispy like I've got on this one. It's the same technique of putting the alcohol or the claro down and then blowing it back onto itself. Sorry Matthew, I've just indicated to this one here. So it's the same technique, but with this one we focus just on a small strip of colour and just breaking up those edges, whereas this one I'm looking to get full coverage of the tile. And then you can imagine a piece like this once you've then put a resin over the top of it. Just how fabulous it would come up. Right, I'm really going to mess with this bit here now and add a little bit of Blanco right in the middle of that bit. I don't want to mess too much with the beautiful work we did down the middle. But, you know, this is an imperfect medium or just a bit of a random medium. You're often not quite sure which direction you're going in when you start a piece, and it can change as you go along. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with thinking, oh, I'm just going to do a whisk down the middle, and then you go, oh, but what if I add this bit into it and this into it? And just see where it takes you. That's part of the joy of this as an art form, is seeing where the journey goes. Let's put some actual teal in amongst that. And a bit more Blanco. Get some nice ripples happening there. Letting it flow over the edge of the tile in spots as well, which I think will look really cool. I know it will look really cool. You see there, I actually interacted where I put the claro down to move the Blanco, it then actually interacted with some of the other colours of inks. That's fine. You're going to end up with getting movement sometimes where you don't expect it. And you know what? Particularly when you're working on something like a tile, if you find you don't like the effect you've got, you can actually just cover it with isopropyl alcohol, wipe it off and start again. It's not often you do that though. Usually you find you end up finding a different way to create with the effects that you've got. I find mostly if the times when I might clear off something and start again is usually when I've tried to control it too much. A bit of Sapphire, a bit of Blanco. Some teal in there too, so we don't end up with it all Sapphire. You can see the effect compared with the strength of the colour there, the softer mottling that you get by adding the Blanco into it. Very, very effective, but quite a different look. I mean, this tile is going to be not quite know its personality because it's got two very different looks in there together. I'm not saying I would always do the same do the two techniques together, but for the sake of a demonstration, I wanted to be able to show you different looks that you can be creating. Sometimes you just gotta go, okay, that's it, walk away. We good? That made Matthew smile. I think that's the hardest thing for me is to walk away and to stop playing. Because I'm having way too much fun. Put a bit of actual pink there, which will move that gold a little bit more. Sorry, pink, not pink, it's Senorita Magenta. Which is a pink, but they now have in the range a colour actually called pink. Oh, that's some nice woofy stuff happening there. That's beautiful. So why aren't I stopping? I don't know. Because it could get better just around the corner. That one looks like it's a slice out of a crystal, doesn't it? So of course I have to mess with it. If you get a line, add your Claro in there, keep on moving it. I do find I'm a little bit limited with this blower, with it's nice and small to handle, but for working like this, it's the lack of air capacity. I am feeling that difference. I'm really looking forward to working with the new Ranger one that's got the larger bladder to have more air to work with. Nearly happy to finish there, but not quite. Not quite. See, I'm just blowing it from side to side till it starts. I want a bit more of that solid gold. So we're just blowing from side to side until we get that river of gold happening. I'm happy to have some spread out as well, but I really want those ripples of gold coming through it. No, okay, stick to the pink in the middle. Now we just need to break that bit of gold up a bit. I'm going to do that with some more of the Senorita Magenta. I've got a lot of movement happening in there with the Claro, so I'm feeling I don't need to add any more. So the look I'm going for is something that's got veins of gold running through it, and this is looking really cool. I'll hold up to the light and to the camera in a moment so you can really get the feeling of those veins of colour. If you haven't used the gold for a few minutes, don't forget, give it another bit of a shake before you do. Just get some coverage on that corner. Now we're going to move that into those lines a bit. So you've got to come in from both sides usually to get that to happen. Let's try and break that bit up a bit. If you ever thought your craft work was somewhere where you could lose time, this is where you're really going to find that, because you can keep on playing, you do. You go, oh, that's so cool there. And then you go, oh, but what if I did this? Nope, take that gold back into there. I'm just giving it a few sharper bursts just to get a little bit more movement with the gold. Now we've got some really good rivers happening on that half and not so much on this half. So let's pop in a couple more spots of gold, a couple more spots of magenta. Start doing a bit of a blow. That's better. Right, back away now. Back away, that's really exciting. Let me hold that up to the camera a little bit so you can see more of a close-up and see some of those runs of gold, those lines that are happening. Of course, I still want to play with this one a little bit more, get a little bit more. I just made Matthew smile. Let's just break that up a little bit more. In fact, I'm saying breaking it up, but I also want it in a solid line. But I want lines, I don't want blobs. Okay, there we go. Happy with that one. So let's have a look at what we've done just today. Actually, I'll get Matthew to pan across the ones that I've done previously as well. So we've got our silver with greys and blacks. And then this one I think was a bit of sangria and chili pepper, and that's used with gold. And then this one is a sangria with copper, I do believe. Yes, copper. So different looks, similar technique, just a matter of blowing those inks around. And just to show you, as I said, I wouldn't always use these two techniques together. I think that looks pretty special, but I love the marble effect that you get with the Blanco. And I love the wispy effect. Wouldn't always combine them, but it does change things up a bit to have a look at the two of them together. So thank you very much for watching. It's been loads of fun. We'll join you for another clip soon. We're going to be doing some wispy flowers. So hopefully I'll see you soon for that one. Thanks for watching.